Hello everyone, I welcome you all for the video lecture on the Python programming language. Today, the topic that we will discuss is conditional statements and loops. Conditional statements and loops are core components of algorithmic thinking in programming. They enable programs to make decisions and automate tasks. This presentation will cover these foundational elements essential for over 90% of all software applications. The introduction to control flow, it defines the order. It determines the sequence of instruction execution. It divides the path. It changes execution based on conditions and it enhances efficiency, creates dynamic and responsive software. The efficiency is calculated as it creates the dynamic software, and the conditional statements includes if, else if, and then else. The purpose is it executes different code blocks based on the Boolean conditions. If runs only if the condition of if clause is true, and then the else if. It checks the prior conditions. If it is false, then the else if part will get executed, and else. It gets executed if all the preceding conditions are false. Then advanced conditions includes nested and ternary conditions. The nested if, the conditional statements placed within others. It means we if we place the if else in nested in another if else, then that is called nested if, and it allows complex multi-layered decision making. And then ternary operator, it is concise. It is a single line if else for expression assignment. So we have message is equal to score greater than or equal to 60. If that condition is false or true, it checks. And if it is true, then the statement next to the statement get executed. So here we have passed, so that particular code get executed. And if it is, that is the condition score greater than is equal to 60 is false, then the condition, the second condition, get executed. Here we have fail. So that particular fail got printed. Yes, that gets executed. And if we have the print in the next line of code, then we may add the fail in the output screen. And then introduction to loops. The purpose is it if we want to repeat code of block for n number of times, then we can use the loop. Ping concept is for the iterating purpose, and then here the purpose it repeat a block of code multiple times. It automates a repetitive task and processes data. The benefits are it reduces code redundancy, it improves maintainability, and then the types for loops for fixed iterations, while loops for condition driven repetitions. For loops iterating a fixed number of times. Initialization, it sets up the loop counter and the condition. It determines if loop continues to continue, and then the update. It modifies counter for the next iteration. Update here in the for loop includes the increment and the decrement operator. So it's designed for situations where the number of iterations is known, useful for iterating over arrays or fixed repetitions. For int data type I is equal to 0. So here we have initialized I is equal to 0 and then as the data type integer, and then we check the condition I less than 5, and if that condition is true, then the code of block, the line of execution comes to the code of block. Here we have I to get printed, so we will have on the stack in the memory 0. Here we have the increment operator, which now will get into execution. So in the for loop, we will have I is equal to 0 assigned, and then we will check for the condition, and then the code, it comes to the code of block. And after one line we have given here, but if it is a more number of lines, those code of block will get executed, and again the loop will continue from the increment or decrement operator that we give in the third part of the for loop. And the syntax says first initialization, and then the condition, and then the updation. Updation, we may have increment or decrement operator, that is operations, and then the coming to the updation, it again checks for the condition. So initially it will initialize the value and then check for the condition, and then it goes to the block of code, and then this is the block. Here we have only one statement. It will not be the same for all the other cases, as we may have different requirements and different coding of languages, so coding applications. So here the for loop, yes, is a looping statement. So the code of block, the line of execution, one by one it will do. So after the code of block, it again comes to, in the case of for loop, in the third part, the updation part, it will come and it will get updated, and then it checks for the condition, and then the code of block again will get executed, and then again it will go for the updation, and then it checks the condition, and then the code of block, it will continue. And then here the condition, if it is false, it comes out of the block, and then the code next to the block get comes into execution. Here 5 less than 5, till that we will uh, be running this code. It will be again and again, it will be looped. So we will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the case of 5 updation, 5 less than 5, the condition will check for it, and it is false. Since it is false, it comes out of the for block, and then the line next to the for block will continue for the execution in the compiler. So generally a programming language starts from the first line of instruction. One by one it will get into the execution in the arithmetic and logical operator in the part in the hardware. So whenever we um, execute, yes, in the case of loops, the code of block will iterate, yes, until the condition is false. We have a while loops. It iterates until a condition is met. So it evaluates the condition. After evaluation of the condition, it checks for the condition if it is true, and then it re-evaluate the. It means the loop continues until condition is false. It executes repeatedly as long as a condition is true. So we have to be careful in in the condition fixing, because we may end up with infinite loops if the condition is not true. The code of block that comes in the while loop will continuously, repeatedly, it does its execution, and then the memory will get occupied, and it will end in an infinite loop. So we need to avoid such programming. So we need to set the base condition in such a way that it has to be false in one point of time. And it is ideal for user input validation and dynamic processing. While attempts left is greater than 0, get user input, and then attempts left minus minus means decrement operator. So here we have the while loop and it checks for the condition. If that condition is true, then the statements and the block of while gets executed. Here we have two. One is the function and then the decrement operator. These two statements will get executed. And then the conclusion. So the best practices are clarity, write concise and readable logic, and then efficiency, to optimize conditions and it minimize iterations, and it for testing, it rigorously tests all code paths and edge cases, and debugging. It utilizes tools to trace control flow. Thank you all.